In light of the upcoming World Mental Health Day, this week we continue our conversation with clinical psychologist Linda Sarker about teenage depression in particular, and we examine the signs, symptoms, and contributors to this particular condition. Let's talk about teenage depression. What are the symptoms of teenage depression in particular?
What we find that there's a lot of changes that are going on in one's life. It's a complex and confusing time, especially with adolescence. Yeah. It's a tremendous time of change and turbulence. And what we find that there are a lot of changes that are going on internally as well as externally, biological changes, emotional, psychological, cognitive, as well as interpersonal changes. So it's very important to understand these changes and what's going on and to pick up on them, because sometimes people just put it down to, oh, he's being a teenager or she's being just a moody teenager. But there's actually a lot more to it. So what we need to pick up on is changes in behavior. The child or teen becomes more withdrawn. They become lethargic, lack of energy. The things that they used to enjoy doing, they don't enjoy anymore. School life, social life becomes less interesting to them. Their sleep becomes disrupted. They either sleep very little or they oversleep, or they just want to sleep the whole time, as well as appetite fluctuations. So they either undereat or overeat, depending on what's going on, as well as changes. They become irritable, agitated, feeling of worthlessness, hopelessness, helplessness, guilt. There's a lot going on, as well as feeling just kind of like they don't want to do anything. They actually resort to listening to music with dark lyrics and reading books that are quite, depressing. So, really looking out for these symptoms, but really the child or teen becomes withdrawn and not really interested in day-to-day activities that they were previously interested in.
Right.
So it's a profound and genuine sort of feeling of not being happy with your life. It's not as simple as, you didn't make it on this team, or you didn't get the grade that you wanted, so you're feeling a bit down. This is actually clinical depression, which is persistent. So we notice it for a minimum of 2 weeks for it to be diagnosed as a proper condition.
How do we know if a teen is actually depressed or being hormonal?
The thing is with the hormones, they're a bit like a roller coaster, ups and downs, ups and downs.
Right.
But with depression, it's flat affect. It's just it's a constant, it's not kind of excitement and depression. They're just constantly unenthusiastic, unexcited. It's a constant. So picking up and really noticing and checking in with your child on a daily basis.
And how do you do that as a parent of a teen?
So I do this a lot in the car, because with the car there's nowhere to escape, there's nowhere to go, you're confined in this tiny space. So every morning on the way to school, I have these checking in sessions and really see how things are, how they're feeling, what's going on. You get a sense of the situation and what's happening. So, teenagers are moody and they're, living in their own world, but it's important to see that there isn't this lack of motivation and they're not wanting to see their friends. That's a red flag.
Okay. Should we be taking ownership of the fact that if we think the child is depressed, that the child is depressed? Or because our instinct is to kind of protect, and sometimes we feel that, by just giving them space, letting it go, ignoring the signs, we're just protecting them. How do we not do that?
The thing is, you mentioned a very important word in that space, and that's something we give a lot to teenagers, but the understanding is too much space is detrimental and too little space is also detrimental. So it's important to find that balance between giving them space and checking in and being there for them, because they really need you. Teens really need, contrary to popular belief, they think that little ones like toddlers need their parents, but teens really need that guidance, support, just that feeling of security. So it's important to constantly have that sort of understanding and connection.
Right.
And to really understand what is going on in their world and what's happening, and really kind of be connected in that sense. And at the end of the day, they do want to live their life, and they're discovering, their identity. There's lots of new things going on, and it's a whole new world for them.
Right.
So it's important as a parent that you let them know that you're there for them, but again, that sense of space is important as well.
Right. How big a role does social media and all the technology play in this scenario. What are the kind of cases you've seen, and have these cases sort of increased since the advent of Instagram and social media and Snapchat and
Yes, it's
everything else?
it's a whole new world for us as well as parents of a different generation. The thing is, there needs to be a lot more awareness about social media, because it's it's like giving your child car keys and saying to them, off you go and drive, and they don't have a driver's license. So they really need to be aware of the implications, what's going on.
Right.
There's a lot of predators and all sorts, and other than that, just sort of amongst friends, and the kind of comparisons, and the looking at, you could look at someone's Instagram and think, oh, their life is so wonderful and glamorous, and my life is so miserable, and I'm just not having as much fun. I mean, there's a debate. Does social media cause depression, or is it the other way around? It's a bit of a chicken and egg situation.
Right.
But I truly believe teenagers that are depressed are more likely to spend more time on social media than the ones that are not.
Right.
Because the ones that are not depressed are more likely to be out there doing stuff, enjoying themselves. So spending too much time on social media, that's also a red flag. I think as parents we need to pick up on not going out as much. And you know what it's like. They'll look at what people are doing and they'll think, oh, this whole thing with FOMO, fear of missing out.
Yes.
It's just such an issue as well as feeling that, that they're just not good enough, or their lives are not good enough. There's constant comparison, and, the likes, they live for the likes as well. So if they don't get enough likes, they feel that their life is coming to an end. It's all very sort of, we really need to be careful how and what, and really we need to tune in. I think those are key words.
Right. And we can't just take it away either.
Taking it away is not a solution, because it's a huge part of their lives, and it's not fair to them. It's really cutting them out and being too strict and kind of is not a solution. So it's about managing it. Social media is not bad. It's not a bad thing. It's just about learning how to navigate and manage and understand how it works, I think, is what's important.
Stay tuned, guys, because next week, Linda Sarkar shares with us her personal tips and rituals that we can implement on a daily basis to raise present-oriented, physically and emotionally healthy children who in turn become balanced and emotionally intelligent adults.
We'll be sharing Linda's details in the description below. Please like, please subscribe, and thank you for watching. Bye!